Hello, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about what scrap metal is what. We're going to be identifying scrap metal so that you can gain your knowledge, and that way you can also maximize your profits while scrapping your metal just by sorting your metal into a bucket. So we're going to start right here with our steel. So this is steel. Usually you will be able to identify it by the weight. Usually that's the first dead giveaway, is weight. Steel is usually heavier than your stainless steel or your aluminum. So another giveaway is here. We got some rust. So rust is also a dead giveaway that this is steel. But I would say the main way to identify would be using a magnet. You stick your magnet on. If it sticks, that's steel. So that goes in your shred steel pile. Shred steel can be HMS if your scrapyard does that, depending on the thickness. I can get into that in another video. We're going to go over here to our aluminum. So I know this does look like brass. It's very shiny, could be copper even. But here I have grinded it off with my grinder, and it's a shiny white color. That's how you can identify aluminums. Usually it's got to be shiny white. Usually if it's a duller white, it's cast aluminum, which we'll get into that in a minute. But aluminum's also very light, okay? Light, which is a giveaway that it can be aluminum. Also, if you take your magnet, it's not sticking, so it can be aluminum, or it could be stainless steel. But if you take a grinder to this and it does not spark, which I can demonstrate, grab my grinder here. This does not spark, just like that. So I'll keep this out. I can demonstrate later. Yeah, it does not spark. So that's another dead giveaway that this is aluminum. This would be your sheet aluminum. This wouldn't be extruded or any sort of that. I can get into that in another video as well. If you just take this sticker off, you could probably leave this sticker on. But yeah, this is your sheet aluminum. It's just a little bit more than your steel price. But again, it's just to maximize your profit. You save up, you get a bunch of buckets, barrels like I do, and then you cash in. Yeah, it's another way to make more money than you would throwing it into the shred pile. Okay, next we're going to get into our stainless steel here. Now, stainless steel usually weighs around the same as your normal steel. Stainless steel also has a very shiny shine to it, just like this. Yeah, so it's got a shine. One of the dead giveaways is it doesn't stick to a magnet, right? Your stainless steel will not stick to a magnet. Some do have a little stick. I don't know if this does. A little stick. Yeah, it will have a little stick to it. But barely, just barely, because it's still got that silver content in it. But it will not stick usually. And then if you take a grinder to it, I don't know if you could tell, but there are a few sparks. So it does spark a little bit, not as much as your steel would, which I can show here. Take your steel, and then you... Obviously, you have a lot more spark to it. So that would be your stainless steel. This is, I believe, right now, 304 stainless is around 20 cents a pound at my scrapyard. I'd have to check, but it's around 20 cents a pound, so it's better than your 8 cents or 10 cents a pound that you would get for your normal steel. Next, we're going to move over to our cast aluminum, actually. So cast aluminum is very dull. It's got a very dull color to it. It's not a very shiny like your other aluminum. It may be a little shiny around some spots, but it's usually cast aluminum. Cast aluminum can come off the ends of motors. So if you have a motor, this is pretty much always cast aluminum. I've never seen a normal aluminum or steel end to it. So this is cast aluminum. Cast aluminum is also very brittle. It will break pretty easily if you take a hammer to it. I'm not going to do it right now. But yeah, cast aluminum right now I believe is, I don't want to spread false information, but I believe it's 20 cents a pound at my scrapyard. A little low right now. Yeah, clean cast aluminum, no contaminant. So yeah, that is our cast aluminum. All right, here we have brass, okay? So some brass is just shiny. Here, I'll pull out a piece. Like shiny yellow. That's a pretty much dead giveaway that it is brass. And then if you take a file to it, it will, if it's yellow or shiny yellow, then it's brass. But some brass, like your sinks, what are they called? Can't think of the name. But Also your shower heads, faucets. There we go. Faucets will be brass. If you take a file to it right here, I don't know if you can see, it's yellow. So that is brass. It's clean brass. It will have a shiny color over it. They will still buy it as clean yellow brass, though. Pretty much all scrapyards do that. But yeah, that is our clean yellow brass. Put that right there. Now we're going to move over to our copper. Copper can be a little confusing at times, okay? So we're going to start with our copper number 2. This copper number 2 came off of a copper bearing motor, okay? So copper number 2 has this shiny coat on it. Copper isn't normally this shiny. This is copper number 2. Also, copper number 2 has tape and all this wire, all this stuff on it. Some scrapyards will buy, if it has this string and tape, they will buy it as copper number 3, which would be this, but my scrapyard buys it as copper number 2. So just check with your scrapyard when you're going to take it in, and you'll never know. So yeah, this is copper number 2. And then here we have Bear Bright. So I know this doesn't really look like Bear Bright, but Bear Bright usually comes at a wire, and it's really the only place you're going to get Bear Bright from. It's one of the only places you'll get Bear Bright from. My apologies. Some people will say, hey, can I get this copper number 2 is Bear Bright? I mean, it's shiny just like your other Bear Bright. This isn't a great example, but this is some of the only stuff I have. All the other Bear Bright copper is just this color too. My scrapyard does buy it like this. They'll say, can I take this in? It's shiny and looks kind of like Bear Bright. Can I take this in as Bear Bright? They won't buy it because usually the only kind of Bear Bright they will buy is out of wire. Your electrical conducting wire, your 14 gauge and up, usually is the kind of copper Bear Bright that they will buy. If it's below 14 gauge, or above 14 gauge, I should say, they probably will just buy it as copper number 2. Again, check with your scrapyard. But that is Bear Bright and copper number 2. Here we have copper number 1. It has no solder on it, nothing. It's just clean. It's clean copper. You can see shiny yellow. It's got a shiny yellow color to it. This is a little bit of old piece, so it's got a little bit of contaminant, but this is copper number 1. Copper number 1 is one of the most high-paying coppers or scrap in the industry, in the business, other than Bear Bright. I believe Bear Bright is just above it. Don't know the exact price right now, but this is your copper number 1. So this is, again, another piece of, this is copper number 2. So see how it has all this solder, and these are brass pieces, but this pipe is actually copper. So brass is actually in copper, if you didn't know. So they will buy it as copper number 2, but you cannot take this in as copper number 1. They will buy it as copper number 2 because it's got all this solder and dirt. You can cut it if you cut it here, like around here, right before the solder, and right before here. This piece becomes copper number 1, and these ends become copper number 2. So that's just another way to maximize your profits. So yeah, thank you for tuning in with me today. Hope you enjoyed the video. I know it's a little short one. I'll have another one out next week. Thank you. I'll see you guys in the next one.